Hey guys, what's going on? Carter here. Got another comparison video for you. This one is actually going to be a little bit more practical than a lot of the comparison videos I do, basically because I'm going to compare very similar models, but then quite a bit different. Basically the gist of this video is the EX-01 worth the extra cost over the EX-03? So to start the comparison, let's take a look at each knife. Like I said, very similar. Blades identical, 4-inch drop point, stone washed, 154 cm, cryoed. So no difference here. Flat ground, about 3/4 of the way up. So, you know, pretty good all around heavy duty knife, heavy duty blade rather. Good thickness on the stock, but not so much so that this will not, I mean, this will slice through cardboard rather well. It cuts nicely. I mean, it's not optimal for slicing, just due to the grind and how thick the blade stock is, but it's a good all-around cutter. It'll cut things well, yet be strong. It's got a, you know, decently thick tip that isn't going to bust on you, but it's also not overly thick to the point where it's not useful, if you know what I mean. So, just great all-around blade. Both have dual thumb studs, which is interesting because this knife would be, both of these would be completely ambidextrous. They both have thumb ramps on both sides with the thumb stud, except that the pocket clip can only be right-hand carry, tip up, tip down. Can't put it on the left-hand side, mainly due to the mechanism involved. Well, primarily due to the mechanism involved. You wouldn't be able to access the button. Some people have asked if you could switch the hardware. I don't believe you can, because I believe this is press fit in and affixed. So I definitely wouldn't think that it's designed to switch, but at any rate, you can't put the pocket clip on this side. The biggest difference between these two, well, really the only difference, is the handle material. This features G-Mascus, which is Hogue's kind of proprietary G10 that they use. It's basically just a multi-layered G10, as you can see here, the alternating layers. And then they do some kind of process that gives it these ripples that are about that big. And so when you flat plane it, you get kind of these expanding circular designs shooting through here. They use this material on a lot of their gun grips, and they've used it on their knives as well. The EX-01 only comes, I believe, in green G-Mascus or black G-Mascus. This is the black, and really it's a blue-black, so it alternates between black and kind of a really dark blue. The green G-Mascus is kind of a lighter toxic green, well, not quite toxic, but a lighter green and then a darker kind of forest green. I really like this black-blue G-Mascus. I think it looks pretty good. Some of their newer models, I believe, the EX-04 is going to come in an all-black handle, G10 handle, so that'll be really nice. And then it seems as though, the pictures I've seen, it seems that the black G-Mascus they offer is going to be a black and a dark gray instead of this blue. So this is really more of a black-blue G-Mascus, but they call it black. So this consists of a two-piece construction. You can see how it's seamed right here. Semi-flow through. You've got these holes right here, vent holes, and then it has screws holding everything together. The pocket clip, they've actually got inserts inside the G10. I don't know, yep, you can see them down in there. And that's what your screws actually go into, because there's no liners. This is just thick G10 right here. You have the steel inserts placed inside here that houses all the mechanisms, and that the pivot goes through. So it makes for a very solid knife, and yet lightweight because of the G10 without the liners. You can see how thick that G10 is. I mean, it's not hollowed out inside, so it's that thick all the way through. And then you've got this big spacer here. You've got 3 screws holding it together. This one has a lanyard pin in here instead of the hole on here. This is a very small hole. It's kind of hard to get paracord through, but it's actually easier than this. The only way I was able to get this through, I wasn't planning on putting a lanyard on here because it was so difficult to get it through, but I ended up taking this apart to do some cleaning, and so while it was apart, I was able to thread this lanyard and then put it together. So I'd recommend doing it that way. If you're going to put a lanyard on one of these, I don't see how you're going to thread it through. It seemed too difficult to do that. I even tied a piece of string to the end to try and pull it through. Wouldn't even come close to coming through. So only way I could figure it out was to take it apart and place it in like that, and you know, that worked rather well. It's not too difficult. This comes apart fairly easily. Even with this button lock system, it's not bad at all. This one, the handle on the other hand, has the polymer. You can tell how it kind of tings. Single construction, so it's all molded and seamed together here. I assume it's heat seamed together. So there's no body screws, nothing like that. Downside to this is, unlike this one, which can be taken apart to be cleaned or worked on, this can too, but I don't know how you'd ever get this back together. It'd be very difficult. I don't know how it could even be done. I've said that before, but after taking this apart again, in the old Hogue I used to own, I took that apart, but I forgot kind of all the parts involved. So after taking this apart again, I realized I don't know how you'd ever take this apart, because there's a spring inside this button, and obviously it's easy to set the spring in and just sandwich the two pieces together. But with this one, you'd have to somehow squeeze the spring and slide it in. I don't know. It'd be difficult. So this one, don't expect to take it apart for any reason. You shouldn't have to. You should be able to perform any cleaning or maintenance you need without taking it apart. It may be a little more time consuming. You'll have to get some implements inside there, or just stick it in water and swish it around. I don't know if I recommend that. You might get some water in some of these crevices and develop some rust, particularly in the steel inserts. I'm not sure. But at any rate, you should be able to clean it without taking it apart. But it definitely is quicker if you can take it apart when you need to do cleaning. Both have the same button mechanism. So as far as strength goes in terms of the lock, that's the exact same. Might be some differences in terms of strength with the material used. G10 should be stronger, but I can't really speak for sure. You can see that the G10 seems a little bit thicker, and it definitely feels that way too. Just all around, the handle shape is the same, but you can see how this G10 version is thicker widthwise, and then also, well, I guess both widthwise, but it's thicker this way than here, and it's also slightly thicker in the handle this way. So as far as ergonomics go, I definitely have to hand it to the EX-01. It just fills out the hand a little bit better than the EX-03. This one is definitely, you can feel how it's thinner down here. It's not bad, it still feels good. But I would give it to the G10 version in terms of which one feels better. They both have this nice wedge shape, which is actually the most secure handle you want. You want it to be wider up here than down here, because if you're sliding forward, you want it to expand as your hand goes up, not shrink down. It's kind of the opposite of a strider. Strider actually isn't all that robust in terms of, if you were going to do a thrusting motion, your hand would more likely slide up on a strider, even with the choil, than one that's wedged down like this. But that's who honestly thrusts with their knife. It's a utility type thing, and for most of us, it's just something to have and cherish and own and like and stuff. Anyways, getting off point here. The G10 weighs more, which is good and bad. It makes the knife overall heavier, but it makes it more balanced. So the G10 version feels better overall. It kind of feels higher quality, and it just feels like it feels more at home in your hand. The EX-03 is great, and if you didn't have them side by side, you probably wouldn't ever say, this doesn't feel good, or it feels off balance, really. But if you put this one in your hand, definitely feels better. So, in conclusion, before my video dies, I would definitely say that the EX-01 is worth the couple extra bucks if you can swing it and if you can